This is the home page for the NHD web editing tool. When you arrive at the home page, the first thing you'll need to do is log into the page. Each user has different permissions, so what you'll notice is initially I only had a couple of options available here across the primary navigation toolbar. When I logged in, since I have administrative privilege, I see all of the options available. In addition to having a primary navigation toolbar, we have an announcement section to maintain opportunities for the users to keep up with news and activities with the system. Also, we have a NHD or a wiki tool, knowledge base, and technical articles for different components. This can be linked to other NHD articles or USGS articles, or allow the users to actually build and compile information themselves. And lastly is for the users to exchange information with one. In this section, we'll be reviewing the attribute editor for the NHD web editing tool. Once you go into the attribute editor, you'll notice that there's a search section immediately available. When you search for water bodies here, you'll only be able to see what you have permissions to. This is controlled by access of different 8-digit hydrologic unit code watersheds. Once we've selected a water body of interest, you'll see a list of attributes that can be edited or changed. Also, there's an option for uploading pictures or other files to help administrators assess the different characteristics that you want to record about this particular water body. In this section, we'll be looking at the red line tool for the NHD web editing tool. The red line tool is a markup tool that allows us to actually go in and look at the map and mark what changes we think should happen based off of base data and other data that's available. When you initially go into the red line tool, you'll notice that there's outlines for the 12-digit hydrologic unit code watersheds within the major 8-digit unit. You can then drill into an individual watershed of interest and then modify our base map to look at imagery and other data sources. Here's a body where the data doesn't reflect it. If we zoom in too far, you may get those tiles saying that data is not available. That just means the imagery is not available at that high resolution. So let's go ahead and trace this body out. And for this one, I'm going to use the freehand drawing tool. But initially, what I need to do is create an object that can be stored. All the work I'm doing can be stored in. So I create our object, and then I'm going to draw very loosely here. And the good part about this is if I don't get it exactly right, it can be changed. So I'm going to save that. That way I can actually send this up as a session onto my administrators later on for evaluation review. If I wanted to print, I can also look at a quick preview of my map. In addition to there are other base map services that are available as well. So I'll zoom out a little bit and I could switch over to Topo to help me make my decision on my water body as well. In this section, we'll be looking at the map editor for the NHD web edit tool. The map editor is intended for higher level users that the administrator wants to give access to actually modifying the database content. So this section allows for live editing of the geodatabase. All changes go into a versioned geodatabase that then allows the administrator to be able to determine whether to accept or deny or recommend modification to those changes. Here I will select a flow line, and you'll see immediately the attributes of that flow line become available. I can then zoom in and make changes accordingly. That could be to add an additional water body, or it may be to actually come in and reshape an existing. Once we've done the edits that we're interested in, we just save the session and return back to the main portion of the application. In this section, we'll be looking at the administrator's queue of the NHD web editing tool. The administrator's queue is probably one of the most important portions of the site. This is the section that allows all of the administrator to evaluate all of the information that has been generated by the users. So it not only tracks all of the different small steps and actions that the users take, but every major action that they take, for instance submitting recommendations, is submitted through this section of the site. This also is where there's some basic content management for the website, but we're going to focus on the elements of actually looking at what the users have submitted and what their recommendations look like. One other element that I will look at is the user manager, and I want to draw attention to the user manager largely just because what it does is allows us to look at what the users are able to see. The site is divided up into a few different sections, but everything is basically controlled by looking at the watersheds. So you'll notice initially we're at a 4-digit hook, and then we drill all the way down into an 8-digit hook that we can set up and allow the users to be able to get access to just by drag and drop. The attribute manager portion of it is like what it sounds. It is the portion of the administrative queue to allow us to evaluate the recommended modifications to an attribute. Same with the redline manager, but this section allows us to actually see a preview of a map of the submission. If the submission is accepted, then the administrator can also download this in various formats: KML, GML, GeoRSS, or shapefile for work within the NHD GeoEdit tool. The same is true for the map editor manager, but the format that the database is downloaded as is a replica geodatabase. This allows us to create what is a delta geodatabase, called a delta geodatabase, showing the changes that have happened in that compared to the original.